Hello and welcome everyone. We know that you are busy getting ready for your O-level examinations. Therefore, we thought of giving you a helping hand with the examination paper on appreciation in the English literary texts. So, without further ado, we will move on to the structure of the paper. So, as you can see here, the examination paper consists of two parts, part 1 and part 2. Of course, part 1 has two sections, section A and section B. Now, in section A, it carries 30 marks. In section B, it carries 10 marks. Part 2 comprises of 4 categories, as you can see here: poetry, drama, prose and fiction. In each category you have a selection. You can select one from each category, so that one question will carry 15 marks. As you can see here, part 1 carries 40 marks altogether, part 2 carries 60 marks, and in total the whole paper will give you 100 marks. So, moving on to the next slide, we'll talk about part 1. In section A, you have 6 context questions. Okay, and for each question you will get 5 marks. Section A is special because it contains all the poems, dramas and prose that you have learned so far. You know that in your collection of prescribed texts you have 20 poems under 5 themes, and they are nature, conflict, society, life and humor. So one or two of these poems will be there definitely. So you have to have a very good understanding and you have to almost memorize all these poems. Especially you need to know the poet and the quotations from poems really well in order to succeed here. Drama also, you have 2 dramas, and we don't know from which you are going to get it. Anyway, you are going to be familiar with the drama as well. And prose, of course you have 4 prose work. You should have a very good understanding about them as well in order to score marks in this section. We'll talk about it further in this presentation. And section B carries fiction only. Section A carries poetry, drama and prose, but section B actually carries fiction. Here you have 3 context questions which are based on the paragraphs extracted from 3 fictions that are prescribed for you. The choice you have here is, according to the fiction that you have selected to study, you can select one from these 3 questions. So you don't have to worry there, but remember you have to memorize, or at least you have to remember the novel that you have studied really well. So here's what you have to show in section A in your understanding. You have to identify the text, whether it is a poem, whether it is from a drama, whether it is from a prose or prose. You have to identify the text and the poet, the author or the playwright who created this text. For that you will get 1 mark. Okay, you have to both identify the text and the person who has written it. For that you will get 1 mark. And then there will be another question to check whether you have understand the relationships maintained within this text. Okay, and you have to show that you have understood the given text. When I mean that you have understood, it means you should know who are in this text and what is the relationship between them and what is the instance that this extract is talking about. things like that. And then for the last question, you have to show how you respond to the given extract. In the second one, for identifying who are these people and show that you have understood the relationship between people, the characters, the incidents, you get 2 marks. And for the last question also, you will get 2 marks. You have to show how you respond to the given extract. That means how you feel about it, what do you think of it, what opinion can you derive from this extract. Such information you have to give as your answer. Section B is, as I've mentioned before, section B is related to all the novels that you have learned. You have to select only one of them, and there will be 4 questions. Now in section 1, you had only 3 questions for each context question. Here you will get 4 questions, which will actually carry more marks than section A. So in these questions, you need to elaborate your answer a little bit. First 3 questions will carry 2 marks each, and the last one will carry 4 marks. Now we'll take a look at a context question. This is the context question given to you in 2019 December examination paper. I have selected this context question specifically so that you can understand how you deal with the poem in the context question. Here you can see the given text. Because your lover threw wild hands towards the sky, and the affrighted steed ran on alone. Now, the first question expects you to identify the poet or somebody who has written this and what this work is. From where are these lines taken? Who wrote them? You have to remember the name of this poet very well, and you have to remember which poem this is as well. You have to show the familiarity. For that, you will get 1 mark. What does the action in the first line indicate? Why does the steed run away? Now there you have 2 questions. You have to answer them both. What does the action in the first line indicate? Why does the steed run away? Okay. And the last one, what is the theme reflected in the 2 lines? You don't have to give a very lengthy answer for this, but you have to describe it a little bit in 2 lines, maybe. Let's move on to context question 2, given on the same year. This is taken from a prose work. We kept steadying ourselves on the seats. No one spoke. No one uttered a sound. Now you see the difference between the first question and this one. This is clearly sentences which are written in a spoken form, but the other one, the previous one, you can understand, it is poetry, definitely. So the way that it has written is also a clue for you to understand which work this is. That is one important clue that you are going to get. Same questions are being asked. The first question is almost the same. From which work are these lines taken? Who wrote them? So now you have to show that you know which text is this from and the writer. Now the second question addresses the situation. Why couldn't the characters keep steady on their seats? Why didn't they speak? Now you have to explain the situation here a little bit. Give reasons why couldn't the characters keep steady on their seats. They were afraid. Why didn't they speak? They were afraid. Why couldn't the characters keep steady on their seats? They were floating. The wheels of the vehicle was not touching the ground. You have to explain it a little bit. The last one is, what is the situation that made the characters behave in this way? Now, if you have recognized that this extract is from Wave by Miss Dharaniyagala, you would understand that this situation occurred due to the tsunami wave. Okay? And you have to explain what is the situation. You could say the tsunami wave made the vehicle unsteady and the vehicle began to float. As you can see, if you can remember the poet or the writer, and then if you can think of the work, you can easily score 1 mark. And if you can explain the situation and show that you understand the event or the relationship between people, you are going to score 2 marks there. And if you can explain why people behave in this way, what is the situation that have made people do this, that will gain you the last 2 marks, and you will gain 5 marks without any problem. We will move on to context questions in section B now. Now here is a rather lengthy paragraph. Okay, this is taken from 2008 December examination paper. It will take some time for you to read this, but if you are familiar with your text, the text that you have learned, you are going to be perfectly okay with this situation. The moment you see the extract, you have clues in it. For an example, in this extract, you see the word Tony. Okay, so it can't be anything else other than the story about the dog and the boy. You know that. Okay, so in this first question, also the examination, the people who set the paper expects you to identify the text that you are talking about. However, as you can see, it doesn't want you to talk about the person who wrote it. Rather, it wanted you to identify the incident and where does it take place. Okay, so once you have identified it correctly, in this case it is the second meeting with Tony the dog, and where does it take place? Close to Mrs. Lawrence Pereira's home. You will get 2 marks without any problem. And now you have to show your understanding about this particular extract. How has Tony changed? Here now it is clearly given that in the very first sentence, the dog who lay at my feet, wriggling and moaning in a trance of affection, was not the Tony I knew. Okay, now that is the line that indicates the change is there. So not the dog with that beautiful coat, that is how it was previous, but now here it shows this was a sick dog with sores all over, tufts of fur stood among patches of red skin. You have to explain this a little bit, and then you will get 2 marks. You have to say that Tony has become thin and suffering from skin disease, you could say, and it was bad smelling. Okay, and here in the third question, you are supposed to show how you apply your understanding of the text with these 2 phrases. Explain the following phrases in your own words. Perfectly sculpted muzzle, pools of bubbling love. Now what do you understand by these 2 phrases? Perfectly sculpted muzzle. That would be well-shaped beautiful face. And pools of bubbling love, that means full of love, deep love. If you can show that you understood these two phrases in your own words, you will get 2 marks without a problem. What does this extract convey about the relationship between the human and the animal? Now here is the point where you have to describe a little bit. You have to say that there is this mutually satisfying bond between these two, and this bond is very strong, and animal depends on the boy as well, and then as much as the animal depends on the boy also depends on the animal. You can see it because he still loves the dog even with all the skin diseases and all. And animal becomes extremely helpless when that bond is severed. You could explain it like this, and there you get your 4 marks. So from that, I would like to finish the discussion on part 1. I hope you got an understanding about answering context questions. Thank you very much for being with us. All the best.